The first Opium War, which took place in 1840, was caused by the British crackdown on opium in China. At that time, the Qing Dynasty's warships were sailing ships powered by the wind, so their speed was quite slow. So the difference in skills between the two countries was huge. It can be said that it was a battle between college students and elementary school boys. In addition, Britain's personal firearms, such as guns and cannons, were far more powerful and had a longer shooting range than China's weapons, so it was obviously a one-sided battle. The outcome of the war was a catastrophic defeat for the Qing Dynasty, which forced the Qing Dynasty to sign a humiliating unequal treaty and cede Hong Kong to the British colonists. What was the feeling in the Qing Dynasty court at that time? It must have felt like the sky was falling down. When it became known to the world through the Opium War that the Qing Dynasty was a paper tiger, China's land and resources became mouthwatering prey like a chubby fat pig for Western beast. Britain won the war in a great victory, but it deserved criticism both at that time and today for the fact that it was at war with the Qing Dynasty to prevent opium imports due to the evils of opium. Parliamentary opposition also said the victory is obvious, but they fear it will undermine Britain's morality and prestige. Therefore, the Opium War is regarded as the dirtiest and ugliest war ever in the history of human warfare. At the outbreak of the war, China's largest export product to Britain was tea, and Britain's main exports were woolen textiles and Indian cotton. China's tea, silk, and porcelain were quite popular among British noble society. However, British woolen textiles were not popular in Chinese society due to the hot weather in the southern Chinese port area, so nobody liked woolen textiles and there was no consumption of it at all. Huge amounts of silver flowed into China, and Britain's trade imbalance was so great that it continued to run a trade deficit. Britain eventually ran out of silver to pay for its tea imports. As a result, Britain had an ill-minded plan to solve its trade deficit by exporting opium, a drug that destroyed the mind and body of the Chinese. Opium became a sensation among the low classes of China, especially those who engaged in manual labor. As many Chinese workers, civil servants, and soldiers became addicted to opium, society became dysfunctional and increasingly paralyzed. In response, the Qing Dynasty, realizing the seriousness of the situation, confiscated all opium and burned it all. The Qing Dynasty cracked down on opium decisively and drove all drug dealers into Hong Kong. Britain, which had been deprived of opium, protested against the Qing Dynasty's crackdown on opium and started the first Opium War under the pretext of extending trade ports. The war ended with a British victory in 1842 and the Treaty of Nanking, which was absolutely unfair to the Qing Dynasty, was signed. With the Treaty of Nanking, Britain took over Hong Kong Island and forced the opening of 5 ports: Guangzhou, Xiamen, Fuzhou, Ningbo, and Shanghai. As a result, Hong Kong was formally ceded from China under the Treaty of Nanking. The following year, the British government established the Governor General with the establishment of Victoria City.